one of our biggest divisional rivals, just made a move that's going to force the Chicago Bears to adjust how we approach offensive game planning for the next 5 years. And the implications of this decision extend far beyond a single draft pick. Welcome to Bears News Fan Report, your exclusive and trusted destination for every critical development, every strategic breakdown, and every insider perspective on our Chicago Bears. I'm here to bring you the unfiltered analysis about what's happening around the NFC North, how our rivals are building their rosters, and most importantly, what it all means for our path to championship contention. Today, I'm walking you through a draft selection that directly impacts how we'll compete in this division, something that changes the defensive landscape we're going to face twice a year, and a move that tells us everything about where one of our biggest competitors believes their weaknesses lie. The 2026 NFL Draft has been generating serious discussion across the league, and rightfully so. We're looking at a class loaded with premium talent at quarterback, but the real story underneath all that signal caller hype is how aggressively teams throughout the first round are targeting blue-chip defenders and playmakers at positions that can truly alter the trajectory of franchises. This isn't just about finding starters. This is about securing cornerstone pieces that can define defensive identities for the next decade. Teams are making bold decisions, trading up when they need to, staying put when value falls to them, and most importantly, identifying exactly where their rosters need reinforcement to compete with the elite teams in their respective conferences. For those of us in the NFC North, draft strategy takes on additional layers of complexity because we're not just building to compete generally, we're specifically constructing rosters designed to beat the teams we face twice every single season. The Lions have established themselves as legitimate Super Bowl contenders with an explosive offense and physical defense. The Packers continue to develop Jordan Love and surround him with weapons. And then there's the Minnesota Vikings, a team that's been dealing with secondary inconsistencies for multiple seasons now, searching for answers in coverage that can match up against the high-powered passing attacks dominating the modern NFL. That secondary vulnerability has been exploitable. It's been a weakness that opposing quarterbacks have targeted repeatedly, and it's been the kind of roster hole that prevents good teams from becoming great ones. Understanding defensive back evaluation requires looking at specific traits that translate to NFL success. Length matters enormously at the cornerback position because it allows defenders to disrupt passing lanes without making perfect plays on the ball. Physicality is critical, especially in a division where you're facing physical receivers who can win contested catches and make plays in traffic. Ball skills separate good corners from elite ones, the ability to not just defend passes, but actually create turnovers that change game momentum. And perhaps most importantly, there's the mental aspect, the football intelligence to recognize root concepts, anticipate quarterback decisions, and make adjustments on the fly when offenses try to attack you with motion and formations designed to create confusion. The Vikings have been searching for that complete cornerback package, someone who brings all those traits together in a single player. Their recent drafts have included defensive back selections, absolutely, but they haven't yet found that shutdown presence who can consistently eliminate half the field and allow the defense to allocate resources elsewhere. That kind of corner changes everything defensively because it permits defensive coordinators to be more aggressive with blitz packages, knowing they have reliable coverage on the back end. It allows safeties to cheat toward the run or help on the other side of the field. It fundamentally alters what offenses can attempt without risking disaster. And for a Vikings team that's been competitive but not quite elite defensively, finding that cornerback has been a priority for multiple off-seasons. The LSU defensive backroom has produced NFL-caliber talent consistently over the past decade, developing corners who understand technique, who faced elite competition in the SEC, and who arrive in the league with the physical tools and mental preparation to contribute immediately. When you're evaluating prospects from that program, you're looking at players who've been coached at an extremely high level, who've competed against future NFL receivers every single week, and who understand what it takes to play press coverage, zone coverage, and everything in between at a championship level. The track record speaks for itself in terms of LSU corners translating their college success to the professional ranks. Now here's where this all connects to what just happened in the draft and why it matters tremendously for us as Bears fans. The Minnesota Vikings, picking at number 12 overall, used that selection on cornerback Mansour Delane from LSU. This wasn't a reach, this wasn't a panic pick. This was the Vikings identifying exactly the type of player their secondary desperately needed, and securing him at a draft position that reflects his value. Delane brings everything I just described: the length to disrupt throws, the physicality to match up against big receivers, the ball skills to create turnovers, and the football intelligence to play in complex defensive schemes. He's not a project who needs years of development. He's a corner who profiles as an early starter with legitimate long-term upside to become a Pro Bowl caliber player. Let me break down specifically what Delane brings to Minnesota's defense and why this creates challenges for the Bears' offense. At LSU, Delane consistently showed the ability to play press-man coverage against the SEC's best receivers, using his length to jam at the line of scrimmage and disrupt timing routes. That's critical because the Bears' offensive success under this coaching staff depends heavily on timing routes, quick game concepts, and getting the ball out fast to playmakers who can create after the catch. If Delane is pressing our receivers at the line and disrupting those timing elements, it forces our quarterback to hold the ball longer, which puts more pressure on our offensive line and limits our ability to execute the quick strike plays that have been so effective. His ball skills are particularly impressive on tape, showing consistent ability to locate the football while it's in the air, track it effectively, and make plays at the catch point. For the Bears, that means we need to be extremely careful about forcing throws into his coverage, especially in critical situations where turnovers can swing game momentum. Interceptions aren't just failed plays, they're possession changes that can completely alter how games unfold. Having a corner on Minnesota's defense who can consistently create those turnover opportunities makes their defense significantly more dangerous and puts additional pressure on our offensive decision-making. The physicality Delane brings is another element that changes how we'll need to approach games against Minnesota. He's not going to get bullied by bigger receivers. He's comfortable playing physical at the line of scrimmage, and he's willing to support the run game when plays come his direction. That versatility means the Vikings can use him in multiple ways within their defensive scheme, moving him around to match up against our best receivers, or keeping him on one side and forcing us to work away from him. Either way, it's a problem we're going to need strategic solutions for when we face them twice a year. From a broader draft perspective, it's worth noting that while Minnesota took Delane at 12, the Bears selected edge rusher Romello Height from Texas Tech at pick 25. Height brings length and developmental upside to our pass rush, giving us another piece to build around on defense. The contrast in draft positions and immediate impact potential is significant. The Vikings got a player who can start immediately and contribute at a high level right away, while we took more of a developmental prospect who might need time to reach his ceiling. That's not a criticism of our selection, it's just recognizing the different roster needs and draft strategies at play. This divisional arms race is exactly what makes the NFC North so competitive and so challenging year after year. When your division rivals are making smart selections that address clear weaknesses, it forces everyone else to elevate their game just to stay competitive. The Lions have built through the draft brilliantly over recent years. The Packers continue to find talent throughout all 7 rounds, and now the Vikings are addressing their secondary with a premium selection on a high-upside corner from an elite college program. For the Bears, this means our offensive coaching staff needs to be creative, needs to find ways to attack Minnesota's defense even with Delane on the field, and needs to scheme opportunities for our playmakers to succeed despite facing improved competition. Looking at the bigger picture, the Vikings selecting Delane tells us something important about their championship timeline and their belief in their current roster construction. You don't use a top 15 pick on a cornerback unless you believe the rest of your team is close enough to contention that improving the secondary can push you over the top. Minnesota clearly feels they're in a position to compete right now, not rebuilding for some distant future. That puts additional urgency on the Bears to accelerate our own development, to maximize the talent we have, and to find ways to compete for division titles while these rosters are relatively evenly matched. For Bears fans, the question becomes, how do we attack a Viking secondary that now features Delane's length and coverage ability? The answer involves scheming our receivers into favorable matchups using motion and formations to create confusion about who's covering whom, attacking with our running game to set up play-action opportunities, and most importantly, trusting our quarterback to make the right decisions about when to challenge Delane's coverage and when to work elsewhere. Our offensive coordinator is going to need to be at his creative best when we face Minnesota, finding ways to neutralize their improved secondary and create explosive plays despite facing quality coverage. Now I want to hear directly from you because your perspective matters in this discussion. Drop a comment below and tell me how you think the Bears should approach attacking Minnesota's defense now that they've added Delane. What adjustments do you want to see from our offensive coaching staff? How do you feel about our own draft selection of Romello Height compared to what our division rivals did? And what does this Vikings pick tell you about how competitive the NFC North is going to be over the next few seasons? Let's have this conversation together in the comments. To wrap everything up, here's my analysis on the Vikings selecting Mansour Delane and what it means for the Bears. Minnesota addressed a significant roster weakness by drafting a cornerback with length, physicality, and ball skills who can start immediately and develop into an elite player. This makes their secondary considerably more challenging to attack and puts additional pressure on our offensive game planning when we face them twice annually. While the Vikings improve their defense with this selection, it also creates opportunities for our coaching staff to get creative, to scheme favorable matchups, and to prove that we can compete with any defense in this division. The NFC North arms race continues, and every team is making moves to gain competitive advantages. Subscribe to Bears News Fan Report right now for daily coverage of every Bears development, every division rival move, and every strategic analysis you need to stay informed. Hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and join our community of passionate Bears fans. Share this video with every Bears fan who needs to understand what's happening in our division. Drop your thoughts in the comments about how we should attack Minnesota's improved secondary. And check back tomorrow for more exclusive Bears analysis. This is where elite journalism meets true Bears fandom. Bear down.